You got it, Mark.
Go ahead.
You just dropped me in the grease, didn't you?
That's what we did on P and Z too.
Yeah, well, I dodged it there. Okay, so 3 o'clock, we'll call to order a meeting of the Airport Advisory Board for the city of Port Aransas. Let's see, item number 2, citizen comments and reports. At this time, comments will be taken from the audience on any subject matter. To address the Airport Advisory Board, please sign the speaker's card located on the table just inside the council chamber and deliver to the secretary before meeting begins. Please limit comments to 3 minutes. In accordance with the Open Meetings Act, the Airport Advisory Board may not discuss or take action on any item that's not been posted on the agenda. And Tom Gregory.
Yeah, thanks. Hey, first of all, Tom Gregory, I live here out on in Island Moorings, 377 Blue Heron Drive. Been flying in and out of this airport since 1988. So first of all, I'm here for you guys. I'm here for the city. I'm here for the aviation public. I'm a 26-year designated pilot examiner for the FAA. I'm retired from the airlines, military experience. I started in aviation safety 40 years ago this month in ground safety, aviation safety, accident investigation. I've been through all these schools out at USC when I flew for the United States Customs Service, and then through all of the NTSB schools and the FAA accident investigation 1 and 2 up in Oklahoma City. So I've got a huge aviation safety background. And there's 2 axioms that we like to use in aviation safety. First, if something's foreseeable, it's preventable. And I'm going to speak to that in a few minutes. And then the other one is just we train the way we fight. Police do that, firefighters do that, pilots do that, and I believe it's real important as I'm conducting different types of FAA check rides. I'm emphasizing safety to all my applicants, right? That's the huge thing. I want them to make safe aeronautical decision making, and a lot of that, the safety of what goes on around airports happens right here in these kind of meetings and with the city council and with the support from the city. So I got a couple items. First of all, the foot traffic and the golf cart traffic crossing the runway to the fishing pole over there is just ratcheted way up. I've been a fisherman before I was a pilot. I get it. I'd love to see if we could find some other access for the people to park and cart in, walk in, whatever, where they don't have to cross the runway. And let's limit the problem by creating a fix for it. Second of all, I've had to orbit while conducting check rides. I sent Melinda the video. There's 12 or 13 people walking down the runway to the north end, where 2 other ladies were already down on the north end fishing. They came from in between the hangars down there, just walked across the wires at the bollards and walked through, and half of them were on the runway and half of them were in the grass. And we weren't buzzing them. I went into what we call a delta pattern up at 1,000 feet, just in an orbit, waiting until the air boss said I could come land, because it was crazy. So the police came out. I'm super happy for some of the points I've brought up, and working a lot with Melinda and talking to her about it, and mentioned it with Chris previously, that there's more police presence out there, which is greatly appreciated. And really, really happy for that. Is that my 3 minutes already?
Yeah, and it is an agenda item coming up, so if you want to stick around and.
Oh, I will.
Yeah, we can't get into a discussion
No,
at this
I know you
point,
can't.
but it's coming up, should be there really quick.
The other thing, real quick, I've had to overhaul a propeller. I know of another propeller on a 182 that's been overhauled at airports or hangars at this airport. If we could get some more brooming out there, I know that costs man hours and that costs diesel. I get it. It's an expense. It's probably not one that's the city's been spending money on over the past few years, over the history of the airport. But if we could broom the runway, that'd be good. And I appreciate all the help with the parking and anything I can do aviation safety related. I'd be more than happy
Thank
to
you.
help.
Yeah, hope you stick around for the,
Thank you.
I'm here till.
All right. Thank you, Tom.
Can I make a comment on the runway? Is now a time to?
No, not really, no.
Just tell me. I just
It'll,
wanna make a
I mean, it'll be
condition.
in one of Chris's reports.
Okay,
You can-
good, okay.
Yeah, Chris's, and then
Something.
there'll be item,
Yeah.
Sure
that'll come up on
can.
item number
Good, thank
4.
you.
All right, then, item number 3, Chris Shanklin, Airport Manager's Report.
Whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I'm
Here we
not
go.
limited to 3 minutes, am I?
No,
No,
Good, okay.
although we should probably
Maybe
think
we
of something for
should.
you.
I'm gonna add to Tom Gregory, yes, that is a problem we have to work on. Just to kind of go through here and then general points, I mean, aircraft count, I kind of, since I just took over, I mean, we're averaging 150 a month coming in and out. 100. 149, 167, so I mean, fuel, last year we sold, and it's fiscal year.
Mhm.
End of September to September, $200,000, 35,000 gallons, so it's about $1. We have about $1 a gallon markup, right?
Yeah, about $1.
So, and then so far this year, we're actually down on fuel. But the fuel pump was down for three weeks or so getting rebuilt
Maybe,
in a
yeah.
pretty good,
Yeah.
pretty big time. And then plus it was just down for about 10 days. I had to rebuild the pump. The pump itself, the pump went out, blew the circuit board, blew the switch, so got all that fixed, and now we're up and running again. So I mean, if you look at B, we sold $16,000 in fuel this year, but 37, almost 38,000 since since October 1 fiscal year. Let's see, overnight parking fees, I mean, so far this year, we've done like $3,500. January and February, if you look at C, it's asking for we did $430 and $285, $430 and $285, but it'll pick up in second. Transient market. So we are kind of cheap compared to for overnight parking, and I want to make a suggestion.
But that's coming up in items for consideration.
Isn't that it?
Yeah. General discussion on possible action, increasing overnight plane parking fees. Yeah, that's coming up
that'll
later.
be number 5.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay, well, all right, we'll talk about that later then. Pedestrian traffic. As Mr. Tom.
There you go. All right.
As Mr. Tom Gregory mentioned, it's bad. I
Yep.
don't want to stop anybody from fishing. Dave and I were just talking about, if you have a solution or something, we just talked about it, and it may be something we'll have to come up with, it's not something even on the north side of a different entranceway. He flies, I fly, I think. everybody-
Yeah, so
except for
we-
you,
yeah.
don't Fly. I've had to go around.
Yeah.
People running
Oh, no, it's
through
bad, no
like,
doubt.
I mean, yeah, well, there's a guy in
You know,
C90 that.
I mean,
drove
the
around.
fix can come when we get to phase 2 and we get our taxiway over to the new lease land.
Mhm.
Then what we could do is it's a longer walk, but at least that puts them on the north side of the runway and the extension that's coming. And then they could, maybe, have a trail and hike back in there, but at least it gets them on the good side so that they're not crossing the runway or the future runway extension, but that's a couple years away.
The runway extension's not. but-
No, not the runway extension, but the development of that north side.
But once that runway extension happens, they'll say.
Then it's gonna get even worse. Yeah, it's gonna be even worse.
Is there not a perimeter fence in the plans with the runway extension?
Mm-mm.
I'm kind of surprised the FAA isn't dictating that we do that. just
That's
for-
because we're not, our airport rating
Mhm.
does not, require it.
Interesting.
It's up to us.
Is that something
Always
we could
has
look
been.
into?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I mean-
We could fence it if we wanted to. It's just at this time because we're what are we, what's our rating? I haven't looked it up in a couple of years, but we're, not industrial, we're one of the lowest airport ratings there is. And so it's the fencing requirement is entirely up to the city council.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That'd be one way of steering people in the right direction as far as crossing. the
Yeah.
runway.
And council has looked at it before.
Okay.
This issue has come up in years past, although it has never been, I've never seen this traffic. This like all the cars
What
on,
it looks like.
yeah, I mean, what the
Yeah.
hell's going
Yeah,
back
it
there? Has the
is, yeah.
fishing gotten that good?
And I counted 27 people back.
It
there.
used to be most people were going back there to catch mullet
Yes.
for bait and they'd leave, but now there must be like a slew of reds in there or something? Because it's crazy.
I've never caught a fish in there.
I know. I've heard that. I have a
You know.
friend
Yeah,
who's
it's-
never
it's-
caught anything.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I
What's
guess
going
it's
on there
easy to
now?
get to.
I know they.
So years ago, council addressed I think this was when Claude was mayor. So it would have been in 06 to 10, council addressed it. Because I think at that time Keith Donnelly was on council and he was an advocate for slowing that down a lot too. But some locals showed up and kind of the way it went at council was, we're not gonna, we're a fishing town first. And so it kind of won the day.
Mhm.
That was probably back in 2009. I'm thinking that
Kind
kind
of hard to
And
figure.
it- and it hasn't really come back.
Airplane.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
at this point, it's a safety issue and that.
Well, it's always
first and
been a
foremost-
safety issue.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's
Yeah.
gotten so bad where if you're
Yeah.
circling around because you have people on the active
Yeah.
runway, there's has to be something
Yeah,
done.
so it's, how it would
Council Probably
go.
think differently if somebody died doing
Yeah.
it, you know?
Well, it's like I told Chris about the beach, just because people drown doesn't mean you shut the beach down.
Sure.
Everything's a risk, right?
Well,
So,
a fence isn't gonna shut the airport down.
No.
no,
Just gonna
No, 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 I
push
meant-
them around.
I was referring to, so if a person dies, do you quit fishing?
Oh,
Maybe not.
you know,
Now, just push them where
yeah.
they're not having to walk across the run,
Yeah.
where they're not walking across the run to get there, just make them go a different way.
Right.
That's what we got.
Yeah.
And I have more signs that are getting put up. I don't know if it'll help or not, but.
I mean, we've put signs.
But I
up.
thought you put signs up that said no crossing the
that was
runway,
A year ago, y'all did that.
right? And has that helped? I mean, how many, what's the percentage of them that are going around 3-0
Oh,
versus
I'm not out there 24 hours a day.
ones that are just cutting across?
But I probably see, I would say, from what I've seen, it's probably 15% walk across and the other people go around. the-
Right, so,
That's really
right,
right.
Yeah, Not many.
And it
not
used to
many
be a
walk
little bit,
across.
it definitely used to be more. They definitely used to
Yeah.
walk across
Yeah.
all the time. So the signs helped,
Yeah,
but it's still a
it's
problem.
still a problem though, and it takes one. Just trying to fix that.
Right.
I mean, to discourage them more, can the council, enact an ordinance where there's a small fine if you
Yeah.
cross the active runway?
Mhm.
I mean, that could help if we don't want to put a fence around. You see
Can
something,
that be recommended to council?
$200.
Yeah, you
fine or
guys can make
something.
any recommendation you want.
I know you and I talked about it a little bit about.
Yeah.
That would be like 500, just like
Yeah.
driving golf carts on the highway.
Exactly.
Yeah,
$500 fine or something. I mean,
And I guess
you
the
drive a
police
golf
would
cart,
enforce it.
you drive a golf cart on the, across the taxiway or the one.
Yeah.
Like a plastic fine or something.
It'll be more of they see it, oh, there's a fine. I'll take the extra 5 minutes to walk around,
right.
hopefully.
not a bad idea.
And that's something I guess we can make a recommendation.
Um,
Want to visit with chief and LP maybe?
no, I want to kind of, so right now it's just a update. So in order for us to vote on something like that, you're gonna have it in your actual meeting agenda that says, discussion, take action on recommendation. So we have to post that. So this is gonna have to come back to you guys. If that's the route you want to go, which we could do. So we'd bring it back to you guys one more time as
Is there any admonition, we have the signs up there,
yeah,
but is there, if somebody walks across, there is no fine, there's nothing
currently, no,
that can
no.
we do? Because it just seems, if it said $500
Yeah.
fine.
It's really up to up to city council
So,
to pass an ordinance that makes it a prohibition with a fine attached to it.
That's something that I
Yeah.
say to them to recommend.
And then,
It's
and then,
something
and then that would give me a little time to kind of poll council kind of on the side and see kind of where they stand. And then that way, when we discuss it again, I'd have a general feeling of whether or not they like it or not.
The like a lot or well, it'll be a lot worse if someone gets hit by an airplane across the runway than a $500 fine. So
No, no.
Who's really supposed to have access in there? Just people that are paying some kind of lease in total or a visitor of that person, like a guest of that?
It's up to I think what are we, a general aviation facility, but
So
it's really up to the
aviation
city.
related- Is it aviation related
it's really,
business only?
it's up to, because we're the lowest airport designation. It's really up to us to keep out who we don't want to keep out. And whether or not that's through fencing, it's entirely up to us. But because we have what we have, we're not, like we say, we're not saying it's prohibited to be on airport property. We're just saying, hey, if you're here, walk around the runway, please.
Yeah.
So right now I'm not saying we're inviting it, but we're definitely by default, we're saying that it's not a prohibited act for a non-airport aviation person to be on airport property.
And putting a fine wouldn't do that either. It'd just say, don't cross the active runway. You can still be on airport property.
Yeah, yeah,
and,
yeah.
Legally, just safely,
Mhm.
go around.
I mean, and from a budget standpoint, I
A lot
mean,
cheaper than a fence.
if an entire perimeter fence is, a little bit too tall of a hill to climb, you could put one up. So put up a gate in between the T hangers and then just run one from the T hangers just past the south side of that dune next to the runway at 3-0. And that'll at least funnel them around.
Yeah.
Now when they come back across, they might come across and walk through. I don't know.
Or just have a.
Or they
fence.
still come through the gate. They still walk through the rising gate.
Well, you don't even really need to fence off the entire airport property. Yeah, just do like the north side where they go fishing and make sure there's not a gate, like.
Yeah.
Going there, they have to walk around them. You're not gonna have winter Texans hopping a fence.
Right.
Right, but where the gate is, there's a space for a man,
Somebody to walk through.
right?
Yeah.
Right, so I mean, even if you fence,
You have to fence where the gate is. You have to put a hole in the gate.
you still have a hole, you still have a hole there, which,
Yeah, but it would have to be.
But that's where we want them to be. We want
Yeah.
them to cross the end of the road. We just don't want them to go.
Yeah.
yeah, the problem is when they go further up behind the hangars, right?
Mhm. And then they walk down the side. of
Then,
the road.
yeah, then they're shooting straight across.
I mean.
Yeah, because at that point in time, they're
well,
walking right across the point of the runway where
And I
planes are
mean,
traveling the
It
fastest.
should be like only foot traffic. I mean, golf carts shouldn't.
Yeah.
drive.
Yeah.
The only people that, and you and I talked about this, the only people that have permission to go over there are the game wardens if they ever have to launch there in an emergency. That's it. We gave them permission and that was it.
Yeah, so I think Melinda, when we want to the wording for this should be big enough to kind of catch anything, so. I think when we word it, we want to say discussion and take action on a recommendation to council regarding pedestrian and vehicular activity on the airport premise. And then that way we can kind of discuss anything under there, whether it's golf carts or pedestrians or,
Well, and
yeah, anything, trucks, yeah.
well, and it should be maybe even a little more specific as in, cause you have trucks and cars and golf carts. Myself included that drive down the taxiway to get to the
Yeah.
hangars, but that's all because we own hangars and we have
Right.
that. But it should be more within, within so many feet of just the runway or something.
Yeah.
I don't know if that can be worded very.
Or just say on official business,
Yeah.
and you can.
I mean,
Okay, we'll figure out the wording.
So that looks like that's E and F. Is there anything else on the report? There, Chris?
not really. I mean, I'm just telling y'all, put the signs on the fuel tank. We got that done. That was done last.
Yeah,
time we do that. But that's just in the discussion, but it's also up for discussion of that's gonna have to be redone again or some maintenance because it's not lasting.
Condition of the runway is a topic for right now. I don't see.
We could probably discuss that here with number 4 or
Yeah.
number 5. So
I
number
gotcha.
4 is David Parsons, City Manager's Report.
Okay, item G, update on TxDOT Aviation Capital Improvement Project. So you guys know the project went out to bid in October. And it was received 2 bids. They were accepted by TxDOT Aviation. And then in early January, they went to Washington DC for review and approval. Got shot down, both of them, for failure to properly meet a section of the grant called HUB, which are historically underutilized businesses. So neither applicant met the federal
Headlines.
HUB guideline. So they both got DQ'd. We were hoping it was only one, then it would have deferred to the other
Mhm.
contractor, but both of them
Oh, geez.
messed up the hub portion of the application. So it is going back out to bid, we think next week.
Okay,
So they've been working on it for about 2 months now
all right.
because it just goes to the back of the queue and then it takes TxDOT Aviation that long to get it rolling again. So that's what happened to it. They had a good bid, came in right around budget. And then when it went to the federal review, and I don't know who did, maybe it went to Oklahoma for the federal review part, but wherever it went to its federal review, it got DQ'd.
Good.
And TxDOT didn't pick up on it. Don't know why. I would have thought they would have. But they sat on it for 2 months.
And we have a new contact at TxDOT. That's the airport planner for us now.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's this person's name?
Not Art, not Ed. Is it Ben?
We had a Ben Breck there for a while.
Oh, wait, no, hold up. He plays saxophone. God damn it. Except that was the main part of our conversation. I didn't pay good enough attention to his name, but no, we got his name. I got his. I don't know off the top of my head.
So from the time it goes out to bid, they think that construction might start within months
Well,
or
we-
years?
No. It's a couple months.
Okay.
It happens pretty quick.
Cool. That's
Yeah,
good.
I mean, the two contractors that bid on it last time, they were ready to roll.
Well, that'd be good.
Yeah.
It's a whooping crane season for that
Mhm.
expansion.
Right.
Barely.
Barely.
Right.
All right.
So anyway, a little delay, but
Puts us right in
But-
busy season.
yeah.
In process, and I guess with respect to other capital improvements. I know that there's been discussion of the T hangar complex and everything.
Mhm.
We're still thinking that's maybe a couple years away before we go out for bid.
Yeah, because we've put in the letter to them and well, we're actually on the list.
Okay.
It didn't fund it. I think they put in 665,000.
So that was the total for the entire.
That was the
T-hangar?
total, which we think is maybe like a third of a T hangar complex.
Right,
So we got a ways to go.
okay,
In the last legislative session, we had talked with the gentleman who was on the transportation committee
hmm
that wrecked his plane out there to get us some help.
Oh, yeah.
But that didn't go anywhere last legislative session.
okay.
So we are trying to get some extra funding on that. So,
So
um,
they've earmarked the 600 and.
yeah,
change
so we have the
thousand.
665,000. It's just woefully short.
Right, so that'll have to get,
Either we keep fighting and scratching to get more funding on that list
mhm.
or council steps up. But
I mean, the whole goal of it is so it's a 10% match. That's what makes. it
right, it's a
tenable.
10% match, but what makes it so lovely is that if we got it to where it was 90-10,
Mhm.
then the rent income quickly pays down any
For-
debt the city would incur. So,
For sure.
Yeah.
It might be worth barking up that tree. I
yeah,
just
possibly.
don't know how long
Yeah.
it takes.
Before though, we can, so we did $700,000 or $800,000. That's only for the hangars.
Yeah,
We still need sewer, water.
yeah,
And access.
yeah.
Yeah, all the
To where
infrastructure.
where this,
Well, sewer would be, I mean, what's at the current hangars right now? Just
Water.
water and electric, right? No sewer. So the bare bones would be water and electric. Would be the two minimum things you would have to run. Sewer would be the more expensive, but
Because if you're anticipating future growth and.
oh, yeah. I mean,
expansion-
ultimately, if you look at the plan that we all worked on at our last workshop, there's a FBO there. So, the plan shows everything being there, water, sewer. With the TxDOT Aviation project, all we get over there is the taxiway from the new extension over to that new lease area, and we get a large transient parking tie down area. That's it.
but if we can, so we need to think about where the money comes from.
Yeah.
You go from there, the
We-
361.
Yeah, we got the driveway that's already in.
And when
Yeah.
you build the hangars,
Yeah.
then they can, connect to that. But we-
Yes, so we installed the driveway with the Tech Stop improvement project years ago. So we did spot that driveway off the highway in the right location. So it's there.
Mhm.
But like Mark said, we got to get from there over to a parking facility that would be the future FBO parking, but also close enough to the transient area so that we can immediately start accessing that transient parking so people can park there. Now that wouldn't take any utilities at that point. It would just take a drive, getting a driveway over there.
But while you have the equipment in there, you wanna,
It's all gonna boil, it's all gonna be boiled down
Already
to,
there.
it's all gonna boil down to what council will throw at that dollar wise.
Another alternative, what I've seen done at other airports and airport boards I've served on is, the municipalities had a strapped budget. And
Yeah.
probably no different than our situation when it comes to funding the airport. They prioritize roads over airports,
Yeah.
which we totally get. But they leaned on private enterprise heavily to help with the infrastructure side. Knowing that you're gonna have a ramp that has the space that you have and you have demand for private hangars, I feel like you could maybe have them help with some of the heavy lifting on the utility poles in order
Yeah.
to get that done. You might have to offer a bit of a discount on a lease rate up front in
Right.
order to do it, but that might be a way of pulling it off.
Mhm.
I know whenever I went and built the first hangar I built in 2006 in Taylor, they're like, yeah, we'll let you build whatever you want, but you're doing all your own utilities.
Right,
And-
right.
And that was the only way that we could get the job
Yeah,
done.
right.
So I would think that anybody coming in to build a corporate hangar wouldn't be shocked if the same was asked of them.
Right.
So
have we done any, topographic like surveying out there? Because one of the things, to get a building permit is we gotta know where the water's running.
Where what is?
Where the water is gonna drain.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
right.
cause
Yeah.
as soon as we put hangars
Yeah.
and ramps, we're gonna have a lot of water running. Hopefully it runs into the ditch,
Yeah,
but it may have to run because of the way it's conformed out to 361. We need to know that kind of stuff.
yeah, I mean, definitely you're gonna you're gonna need you're gonna need a full civil plan that we would have to have done, while we've done our master plan, right? And they're gonna set grade for all of the taxiways
Exactly.
and with your slope in there to sheet water. I mean, you got all the wetlands. You got wetlands on 3 sides of that land, right? You have the highway. You're gonna have the new ditch that's being realigned with the runway. And then on the west side, you have wetlands, and on the east side towards the Palladium Apartments, you have wetlands. So we have 3 sides of wetlands. So, but you're right, we need survey control that's gonna go in there, and we have survey control for where TxDOT's putting in the taxiway and the transient parking, and we would have to work off of that and figure out our taxiways and then where we're sheeting water on both sides of the taxiways.
And the reason I bring it up, besides we should be doing it, is that if somebody, as a company, as an individual, whatever, wants to build a big hangar, and they're gonna put $2 million or something in there, we gotta tell them.
Oh, yeah, we
this is
need
where it's
to,
going, and
yeah, this is your
yeah,
finished
this is
floor
not- this is
and
your
you have to
own-
slope it, you need a 2% slope in that direction. Yeah,
So-
absolutely.
We need
Yeah.
that before they can go. ahead.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, we do.
do you see any reason to have to redo the airport layout plan before we look at the T hangar project? Or do you feel like the current plan?
No, the T hangars are on the new airport layout
So
plan.
so we don't have to do a redo that.
Yep.
That's good.
Yep, the new airport layout plan has the layout that we've used in all our workshops.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, that's good. I
Yeah.
know those aren't cheap.
Yeah.
So. All right,
Quick
is that-
question on the capital improvement
Yeah.
project that we're going up to bid. Does that include resurfacing the entire runway?
No, it
It's
does
just
not.
the extensions?
Any runway restriping?
There is some striping on anywhere they're gonna impact. So if we wanted to redo any striping, we'd have to do a change order.
Lawrence and I talked about
Yeah.
it the other day. I'm trying to budget the end.
Yeah.
What's it called?
Right, and we could use some of our hangar grant for that if we
Redo.
wanted.
Mill and overlay.
Mill and overlay of all the transient parking, but I wanted to get with Dave first to see if we could keep on going east, because you talked about maybe more hangars over there.
Yeah, the other thing that has come to light since our last meeting is that in September, the US Supreme Court weighed in for the first time ever on the definition of adjacency navigable, adjacent waters to navigable waters. You know, what that definition is in regards to what does the Corps of Engineers have jurisdiction over?
Okay.
And so the Supreme Court weighed in and said that unless, so if you have a navigable body of water that continuously holds water, like a lake or a river or a ocean, it doesn't have a whole lot of fluctuation, but
Mhm.
if the adjacent land, if it only sees water sporadically,
Mhm.
then those are not deemed adjacent navigable waters. So they're no longer in the Corps' jurisdiction.
Interesting. Well, I
So-
mean,
so
that,
for-
the lake on the,
Well, here's how it affects it. So for example, this large area that is right here, here's the highway, there's the Texan. So this large area right there that has always been deemed wetlands is not under Corps jurisdiction any longer. Most of the stuff, even a lot of this stuff, like we're looking at, like right now, we're looking at how, you know, we've always wanted a second entry into the 67 acres. And going through Channel Vista wasn't gonna cut it.
Mhm.
Even though that was the original design. So we've always looked at, all right, how do we get another entry around the community park? One option was go right along the border of Channel Vista and the community park, which wasn't great. And then the last option was, all right, how do we get around to the west, around the skate park? And then realign with Avenue I, which is off of Ross Avenue. We think now that with with this new Supreme Court determination, that this algal flat, which is not in the nature preserve, is fillable. And so we're looking at a possible realignment here. And then we're looking at definitely this stuff here, which basically could just be a continuation of the hangars. You could just, as long as you were out of the cone, you would have to clear the cone, so the development cone, goes down the center X amount of feet and then it swings. So as long as you miss that cone, and I don't know where exactly the cone is, right, we have the drawing. But it forms a circle at the bottom. And so as long as you were not hitting that cone, penetrating the cone, you could possibly do another extension of the hangars down on that piece of property towards the highway.
Okay. Totally doable.
Corps of Engineers has been the big dog,
Mm-hmm.
but there are a lot of other people that have standing.
Yeah.
Parks and Wildlife and Audubon and this and that. Are they gonna take their, okay. So
It's all
they're-
through
they're
the-
not gonna accept that.
Right,
Supreme Court thing as-
it's all through the core permit, right? The core permit is what is given to US Fish and Wildlife, EPA, all of those come off the core permit. Without the core permit, the word on the street now, what we're hearing is that it's gonna be this is gonna be everyone's kind of sitting around like looking at each other going, when are you guys gonna fill? Because think about how many areas in the US were these borderline projects that cities, private landowners, no one's touched
Mhm.
for years because it was adjacent to navigable waters of the US and it was under core jurisdiction. Now it's not. And so everyone's kind of thinking the Corps may bow their back, but they're going to be overwhelmed to the point where they're not going to. I mean, once people start bringing the dirt in, they're not going to be able to flex.
Bridgeline started today.
Yeah.
Did he?
Same type of situation.
Yeah.
On La Concha. But it was land that should have been filled anyway, if you wanted to, but.
You know, like,
but it's the
so
Same thing. It used
All
to be
these
wetland.
wetlands on the beach side of the highway, they're all going to be non-jurisdictional. But since I've been here in 2005, they've always been jurisdictional.
And
Even
that-
if you dug them yourself, I mean, they, you know, like these subdivisions that dug their own water years and years ago as retention or detention ponds. The Corps stepped in and said, you know, it's been 2 years, they're naturalized in their core jurisdiction, but now it's all switching back. Or excuse me, it's not switching back because there's one definition in there that has always changed from a Democratic president to a Republican president, but that's not what has happened this go round. This go round was that it actually went to the Supreme Court to define what the Corps' ultimate jurisdiction was in adjacency, and that was the big one. And it was a case up in Idaho on a lake where there was this intermittent stream bed that it was well out, the lake was way down here, and this was like there was a road, there were houses on the beach on the lakefront, then there was a road, then there was another row of houses 50, 60 feet in elevation above the lake level. But there was an intermittent stream bed that ran through this lot and no one had ever built on it. And this couple bought this lot kind of sight unseen and bought it from, you know, from owner as is or whatever. And then they said, all right, we're going to build on it. And the county stepped in and said, we're pretty sure that's core jurisdiction land. Where's your core permit? And sure enough, the Corps came out and said, this is jurisdictional wetlands. It's adjacent to navigable bodies of water and it is our jurisdiction. It's wetlands and you need to go through the permitting process to see if you can build on it. So they did, it got denied and they said, screw this, we're going to the Supreme Court. And we're gonna fight this adjacency definition. And it went to, you know, the regional court, went to the Fifth Circuit or whatever, then it ultimately ended up in the Supreme Court back in the summer. And they ruled against the Corps' definition on navigable adjacency and jurisdiction. And then in September, it went into effect.
Is the fishing pond on the north side of the runway considered?
Fishing ponds definitely is navigable.
Is it?
Yeah, it continually holds. It continually holds
Even
tidal
like
water. Yeah,
Last week when there was no tide whatsoever?
yeah, I think that would be a stretch. It's these ones like
That's
this one
Wet
here
area.
that gets wet only during the monsoon season
right.
and then it's pretty dry. Those are the easy pickings.
Okay.
Like you said, we mow that.
We mow it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're mowing it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
probably
mow
not
it.
a
It's a
wetland.
field that we go out and mow. It just happens during the May torrential rainstorm. It fills up and there's a bunch of birds in it, just like my front yard does.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
My front yard fills up with water and the birds are all in it. That mean now
Build away.
No longer.
build away.
Okay.
So it's gonna be interesting to see what happens
Okay.
across the nation.
Any other comments on the capital improvement project? All right, item 5, items for consideration, discuss and take action or pass any of the following. General discussion and possible action on increasing the overnight plane parking fees at Mustang Beach Airport.
Chris,
Yes, yes. All right, we get $5 a night for a plane. It's cheap.
playing with one engine.
with one engine. Get $10 a night if you have a twin engine plane.
Mhm.
Big money. I wanna raise that. I have a couple of suggestions, but then I wanna let y'all ultimately decide. I mean, my first thought was to double it to 10 per engine, per piston. And then 20 for turbine. So, it'd be Pilatus would be $20, a King Air would be 40 a night.
Mhm.
And then of course, a little Cessna would be 10 or 414 or something would be 20. But calling around, I mean, that, it just depends on where you go.
What'd you find?
I mean. Like Fredericksburg, they have a $25 handling fee, but there's no overnight fee. But if you buy fuel, that's waived. Bernie, it's $50 just to land there and that's $30 a night. But
50 to land?
$50 to land there. Ask me how I know. I figured that out a couple of weeks ago.
Cause you landed there.
It's, yeah.
So they have a landing
They have
fee?
$30 to the FBO and a $20 approach fee.
That's what they do in the.
Oh, wait a second. So the 50 is broken down to what?
Two. It's $30 for their fee, their FBO fee, and a $20 approach fee.
What does approach mean? That's the landing.
I think it's something to do with the whole
But-
San Antonio approach
Is-
or something.
But the
Is
FBO
Bernie
is making
Stage,
money, not the
is Bernie
city.
Stage a private airport?
Yes, it's a privately owned
Okay.
airport. And it's $30 a night also to stay there.
They have to pay to have their approaches built,
Right,
so they're supporting that.
that makes sense.
Oh, okay.
Like Kerrville. No fee, but a King Air is $90 a night, but no fee for a single engine. So they're all across the board.
Kerrville's 90.
Kerrville's 90 for a King Air, but free for a small engine plane.
That's not fair.
It seems like we're starting to see more regular turbine traffic.
A lot,
Then,
a lot, and
you
I
know,
think that's where we can get more, more of our fees,
mean,
like
from-
Port Isabel's $20. A facility fee,
Sure.
but at no overnight fee.
I mean,
So
increasing
when
that,
we started these fees back in, when did we start them? 2000 and,
Last year.
10 or 11?
They brought in a little over $12,000.
right. So I forget when we started. I think it was around Martin. You remember? You guys remember?
I think the fees have pretty much been about the same.
No, but I mean, when did we start them? Probably 2010, 2009.
I think they've been here.
So the whole-
I've been flying down.
Reason for this would be to take in more money to help support the airport.
Correct.
Correct.
To the point where we don't wanna take in less money by having people not land here and not stay overnight.
I think
So,
there's still.
so there's a
yeah.
balancing.
Yeah.
there. So,
I think on the piston side, you go,
because I never will ever forget this. So many places, if you put $10 worth of fuel in your airplane, you're paying the city $10. Cause we're making about $1 a gallon. So.
Well-
Perhaps we could encourage people to not pay the landing, not pay the overnight fee and encourage them to buy gas and make more money.
Well, I was getting there.
Oh, you're getting there. Okay. Good.
So there's still more to it.
Okay.
So Darla and I talked, in order for me to do that, though, I have to have access to the fueling system. Cause I have to go in and it has to be based on fuel. So the first night is free if you buy 20 gallons of fuel. That's another thing, cause you can get $20. But for like a turbine, we don't have jet fuel, that'll be fine. For a piston, it'll be about this, like if you come in a twin engine, it'll be about the same amount. Where we'll make the money or make a little bit more is on a single engine. Cause it's $10 a night, or you do 20 gallons, it's $20 for the first night.
Mhm.
And then you make a little bit more.
I like that idea. I mean, what are your thoughts about increasing the fees on the turbine side to where we can maybe start, thinking about a Jet A tank at some point?
I talked to a lot of people, well, I've talked to a lot of people. I've talked to a handful of people that fly in, even when you fly them too, and
Mhm.
it seems like Jet A we don't have enough, you need a full-time person.
The pilots aren't gonna want to pump the gas.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we don't have full-time, and I don't know if that's even in the future to go with a full-time person, and Jet A probably won't make the money. Unless we had somebody full-time and then
Well, Chris,
cause I
get
mean,
him
King,
promoted.
No,
The last time we did the fees, we didn't have a huge protest group, but there were some, and they all called it a nuisance fee.
well, it's almost, it's.
And this one rich guy who had like some big ass plane said, I'm never coming to Port Aransas again." And we were like, over $5?
They complain the loudest.
I heard a lot over doubling the, or more than doubling the,
Over and
Parking.
above.
The parking.
That went
Oh,
from 100 to 500.
I had a lot of phone calls.
Oh, yeah.
Because most of my buddies all live in Austin, they all
Yeah.
fly down. So yes, they were a little offended that it went from what, 100 to 500? Yeah.
Still cheap.
Well, you
I
can't
think
go,
it's very-
you can't go in any uncovered, boat barn to park your car for less.
Yeah. I mean, this is $150 a month, essentially,
Yeah,
where we're at right now. You can't park anywhere.
right.
Probably not, yeah. I mean, boat barns are $400 or $500 a month, depending on what, where you're at, which one you get.
So, I mean, do we consider, I mean, if we're not saving up for Jet A, we know obviously we're gonna need funds for runway striping and all the above. I don't think bringing in more revenue would really hurt the airport in any way, shape or form.
No, it's all
So-
staying there.
Yeah,
I mean, we don't steal airport funding to go pay down general fund in
Yeah,
other
I mean,
departments. I mean, so
you're
it
probably taking
stays.
$10 at a go if you were,
Yeah.
It's not a whole- I mean, it's not a whole bunch, but I was gonna recommend either the Piston going from 10 to 15 and, a night to see which your thoughts were, what you think we should.
Why do it
Take
by,
easy.
why by piston versus engine? You can educate
Versus
me.
piston versus turbine?
Yeah.
Just a $150,000 plane versus a.
Oh, so the piston,
five-
single piston's the cheaper?
Yeah.
So
like
if you fly a jet, if you fly a King Air, if you fly a Pilatus, the
Right.
majority of the places that you're going to are probably going to be bigger than Port Aransas.
Yeah.
And the fees that we're used to paying when we fly where we
Yeah.
fly with these planes are typically well in excess of $200-300 at a
Right.
minimum just to land unless you buy gas.
Right.
Now, we don't have that incentive to provide to somebody to get them to buy the gas, and we don't really plan on having that. But at the same time, the person that just, paid cash for their house in Cinnamon Shore and wants to get dropped off on a Friday afternoon is still gonna come and they'll pay the fee,
So we're not hitting up the little Piper Cub.
Well, that's
You're-
the bigger increases for a turbine.
Right.
Instead of jet, the smaller increase for a piston, even if it's $10 or $15 a night, it's still.
Yeah.
Pretty cheap compared to some other places.
I mean, I think you could go $50 for a turbine
Right.
and I don't think you'd have a whole lot of pushback there.
Right.
So. What do you think it's a good
Well,
increase, or that I can say, a single engine going from $5 to 10 or 15?
I like the idea of the fuel incentive, but it seems like from a tracking standpoint and the fact that we don't have somebody there full time, it's almost gonna add.
It would only be based on sales, so I would have to log in every night
Mhm.
and you would have to input your tail number, which I can do it.
Well, what if they don't punch their tail number in because they don't know how to
It's
use the
probably
machine?
better. It's probably, Mark had thought about that, and Darla and I talked.
Cause I mean, I'm the one that's over there. If it doesn't accept the N, I'm just like 3. Give me my damn gas,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good point too. I mean, it'd have to
So-
make it very clear, and it would only, a 20-gallon minimum would only be $20, but if you're, it'd be an extra $5 or $10. It's still $5 or $10, but also, again, it is logging in, and then it also gives me a lot of liability too, because then I'm logged into the city computers and stuff, and so maybe I shouldn't do that. Maybe it would be better just to have a standard rate.
I think a standard rate's probably the easy button.
I
I like that.
Yeah. So are we gonna differentiate single and twin or just?
No,
Just-
it's I like just per engine.
Yeah.
Single and if you've got a 414, it's double. If you got a single like ours, it's a single, but the turbine I think should be more also.
What do we think for the turbine? 50
Is that too much?
per night?
It'd be $100 a night for a King Air,
Oh, so
25?
25.
25 for a turbine.
Yeah.
And 10 or 15 for a single piston.
And we're at
Fine.
We're at 5.
We're at 5.
Say, go to 10, so that way a twin will be 20.
$20.
They shouldn't
Which is
complain
not
too
bad.
much.
No,
Yeah.
You know, again, I mean, like the city gets $30 if you go to Bernie, of course, that's a privately owned one.
right.
And then Port Isabel's 20 and 30 for a multi-engine, the Port Isabel's on the
I mean,
water.
I think it,
King Air or Kerrville's 45 for a turbine, but free for a single, so I mean, you know,
yeah, I say go to 10 on a single and 20 on a
25,
20 on a
20.
twin.
20 or 25, oh, yeah, twin,
tw-
sorry, but
On a
turbine
twin, and then on a turbine, 25
per engine turbine.
per engine,
So a King Air would be 50 and like a Pilatus would be 25.
correct.
I'm good with that.
If you're
If you
flying a
wanna-
King Air, you
if you
can
want to
you can
recommend
afford
it.
50 and
I mean, yeah, I just,
Oh,
I guess you need, the other thing,
cost $50
That would-
gas to taxi down.
Right?
on the turbine
Started
side, you know, your corporate pilots are running around with a corporate credit card.
Yeah.
If you're gonna make them send in a check by carrier pigeon, I mean, you're gonna be chasing money a lot, you know, if there was a way to collect any funds or have them call in to provide a credit card number, I mean, I think you'd probably increase your revenues
That would be having to
significantly.
call City Hall, which is, I mean, that'd be something
I don't know if that's an option.
What about after hours?
after hours.
Yeah.
Just have to call during business hours,
But
call the next day.
I'm willing to make a bet that there's probably plenty of people that have come in and landed. They see the notice about the fee. Okay, there's a fee.
And they don't have a 5.
Yeah, and they don't have cash because
Yeah.
cash is less prevalent and the banks are doing everything they possibly can to move us away from checks. So,
We can add.
Yeah, we have, Lawrence has a good idea. We have Honk Mobile, which is a parking app fee.
The signs that are over here in this parking lot,
Yeah,
you just scan a QR code and you pay.
That's exactly.
oh, that's
Right there.
that's
Yeah.
Nirvana right there.
Right there, yeah.
We can add an account on there, so we can
Okay.
make an airport
Yeah.
account,
yeah.
and put some signs.
And
That'd be-
if that applies to all the pistons and everything as well, I really feel
Yeah.
like you will capture more fees. Just because people don't have to,
Glad you came,
Yeah.
Lawrence.
so people don't have to send a check.
Let's do it.
Sitting there all night doing.
Yeah.
Thought he was-
Everyone has a phone.
That's- yeah.
Credit card, pay.
No, done.
Yeah, there you
That's-
go.
Yeah.
Honk.
So it's $10 a single, 20.
Well, let's see what they vote on. We gotta wait for council.
Yeah.
25 a turbine. Yeah,
Yeah.
this would be a fee schedule update, Bill. You know,
It would be a fee schedule. update,
Yeah, this would be a
but then
recommendation to
you would
council
have
for
to
a
give
fee
me all
schedule
the
update.
Payments on all of those.
So
you would
10
say.
single, 20, twin,
I
25
think that goes straight.
turbine per engine.
Correct.
Yeah, salt per engine, yeah.
So I guess officially do we want to officially make the recommendation at that?
Yeah, someone would have to make a motion.
Okay,
But if we do that, then does that mean that City Hall has to start keeping track of all the planes now, or they just tell me what the payments have been?
No, we just tell you what the payments are.
What the
You have to
payments
keep track.
Okay. No, I can do that. I don't mind.
You have to go out there.
Like
track
the
the
money,
lanes.
the money's like it automatically does when they QR code and they pay.
Uh-huh.
This software that we have keeps track of all the finance and who's paying. And so we would have a running count of how many planes, like a month and how much money.
So I'm assuming through the
Yeah,
app.
so you could like, instead of logging in your license plate, you'd log in your
Just say
tail number.
Yeah, instead of license, plate,
Yeah.
put your tail number
Yeah.
in and.
So if
yeah.
it, like every time somebody pays, I can get a
Yeah.
notification.
Yeah,
1440
Yeah.
Echo just paid, $25 and then I can mark it off as paid and then not
Yeah.
collect it.
mm-hmm.
Are you,
Okay.
but are you still gonna
Log
give them
time.
the option of an invoice or paying cash when they're there?
Yeah. sure.
Yeah, you could do one, or
You
you
can
could
pay
do
cash
either
in the
one.
envelope or pay right here with
Yeah.
your,
The Honk Mobile,
Mhm.
they just put in a card and they create an account is what it is, and then it just.
It's super
automatically-
simple.
Yeah, is there gonna be any other changes as far as parking? We don't need like parking numbers, right? Or anything like that, like they're
What do you
parking
mean?
in spot
No.
1 or 2. There's nothing like that, right?
no,
You
you
need that.
need the date, the nights you stayed and your tail number.
I guarantee 90% of the aircraft out there will start going through that.
Oh, yeah.
It'll be so
Yeah.
easy.
And it'll be $10 per engine. Per
Okay.
piston.
So they can pay, like if they're planning to stay a week, they'll pay that on that one scan.
Yeah.
1 week
Mhm.
right up front. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, but that's gonna need to be integrated too, because you're gonna have to put, they're gonna, just like they do here, they're gonna have to put in. Okay, what do you have? You have a piston or a turbine? How many engines? 1 or 2?
Mhm.
Or,
Whenever
you
they
know,
create their account, we can probably have it already all set up.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, if you have a piston or a turbine or a jet, turbine or jet should be 25 each, you know, because there are a few jets.
Yeah, there's gonna be like,
And then how many nights are you staying? And once they put all that in, then it tells them, okay, you owe $250
I
for
can
your
get
5
you-
nights in your King Air. or
I can get
whatever.
you all this data and you can be the enforcer. We'll get you. a
I
little
will
badge.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
And
I
a
will buy
flashlight
that.
too.
Because I mean,
Those heavy
it's
ones.
that thing, is that?
don't get a golf cart,
honker?
though.
What's it called? A conch?
honk.
Honk. Is a honker programmable? Where
Honk.
they have to put that down?
We can put all of our stuff in.
Okay. 'Cause it
Yeah,
needs
we,
to know how
we
much
call
it's
them,
charging.
tell them, Lawrence tells them what we want, and they say, all right, set it up like this, and then they do it.
Yeah, I can do all this on the software.
Let's do it. That would be, yeah, that'd be awesome.
So I guess then we need a motion to.
Motion to make a recommendation to council for
For the
adjusting
increase.
Question,
airport transient fees to X.
where do the signs go? How
We'll
many-
figure out that later.
What time?
I move to make a motion to
We'll put it on the
adjust
FBO.
the airport transient
There's a-
parking fees.
There's a sign, sorry, there is a sign, there's a little sign right there that says how much is it.
They
Once
need
it-
their phone, right? They scan it
Yeah.
to pay. So where do
Yeah.
we put these?
We'll figure it out.
Right at the
Oh, that'll
FPL.
be
Yeah,
right.
right
Yeah,
at
right
that
on the
door,
building.
right there.
Right on the door, like, so all we
Can
need
I
is
put
one
it inside
sign?
the
Mhm.
You
FPL?
can get away with 2 or 3 signs, one right there, maybe
Can
one
I
by
put
the
it inside the
tank.
Yeah, we can figure all that out.
Yeah, you know what? We can do them for the fishermen too, pay to.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
Hey, now you're talking.
get some money, right?
Yeah.
Want to fish?
I like it.
Yeah,
Fishing pass.
Yeah, maybe we could.
Boy, they're, I don't know that one would pass council. but-
You'll have.
Go all the airport. If it goes to the airport, it's good, right?
Right.
Yeah, $25 pass, you
I'm
know?
all for it. Yeah,
Chris
$5
can hand out
fishing fee.
bracelets, they're good for a day.
Yeah. So do we have a motion
Yep,
to,
we would make a motion to make a recommendation to council to adjust overnight parking fees. So
to
$10
$10 on
for,
piston?
per piston,
Purpose.
per piston, and then 25 for turbine and jet
Mhm. Per night.
per night.
And a second.
Then do we have to make a motion?
Do we
for
have to
the
call roll
honker
or, well, if it's a recommendation, we don't need to call roll, right?
No, we don't need a recommendation for that.
fee? The honkers. just
Wanna
have
call the
set
names?
fees.
Who seconded it?
I seconded.
So we can put it in the paper so people can get mad at you.
Nice.
They already don't like me because I'm on PNC, so just throw it on, right?
Isn't that funny how you get on there and I was like, oh,
Yeah, me and Mike.
you're the devil.
Yeah.
We get you on that board too, get you on all three.
All right, Melinda, call the roll.
All in favor? Or do I have to call them individually?
Either or. How do y'all prefer it?
It doesn't matter.
You can say aye or nay.
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, item I, general discussion, possible action on red striping on Piper Boulevard to eliminate the parking.
We had a conversation with Dave about this and not sure if we can do that or not. We talked about.
Well,
it, but
the chief, so the way the ordinances are now, any red stripe for no parking goes from, it's a recommendation from the chief of police to council. And like I told Chris, I said, if you red stripe 100 feet on each side of the driveway going into the FBO parking lot, and then the opposite side 100 feet, all you're doing is pushing them to park further towards the private marina, and then definitely everyone's
they're gonna
walking
go-
across the runway.
Right.
So you would have to stripe from the FBO all the way west.
I would even be okay with just the north side of Piper, one side of Piper. You know, from the light all the way down, just that side. And this is a personal thing for me, but also. Cause they will park right here. And I have almost gotten sideswiped, just even trying to pull out to see around these trucks before. I mean, it's everywhere, but still, it's just. I don't know if that's a possibility or if that should be done or not, but trying to figure out something to deter this from happening.
Perhaps a conversation needs to ensue with the chief of police to see what,
What do you guys think?
Not gonna pay to park there? More signs?
More honk?
Honestly, I like the
More money
idea
for that.
of charging a $5 fishing fee more than anything else. And I, you know, I think that would, I mean, that would solve part of the problem right there. I mean, it's like a price increase at Luby's.
So Chris, you're thinking like if we just did 50 feet on each side of the driveway, so at least when you pull out, you have good,
Just something, that's,
just a visibility thing.
it is, and it's not like I told you 100 feet, I don't even know it, I mean, just somewhere. On the
Just something to give
on the
you, so
one
when you're
side,
pulling out,
yeah.
you're not blind.
It doesn't have to be on both sides, you know, it's just that area, like. From the FBO or somewhere, just so where
Yeah.
you're not blindsided when you're coming out, just
Yeah.
to give you enough to see around, I mean, it's just some, again, a safety thing. You know, or. All, you know, again, and also just on the north side of Piper. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That would be possible, or it could be recommended or something.
I think we've done a good job getting them out of the airport parking lot. That's good because they were taking up
we
the,
just moved them 50 feet. Now
Right.
they're
right.
Yeah, no, now they're not in the airport parking lot.
Right.
But we don't want to push them to the fishing area, I mean, to the,
To the T.
Yeah, we don't want to push them further west so that then they're all,
yeah. Walking across.
yeah.
So in that regard, I guess if we were to recommend red tripping, we'd say go from the FBO basically towards the gate. Going back into the, I forget the,
Well, if we do like 40 feet on each side, I don't think you're really, I mean, that's only 2 spaces.
Yeah, I'd say, I mean.
yeah, I mean,
100 feet's getting up there.
I would almost say go from the FBO all the way down past the T hangers. You know, and
Oh,
then-
red stripe, that whole thing.
I mean, that would probably dissuade folks from walking across the runway at the midpoint.
Yeah, but they're just gonna park on the townhome side.
Yeah, there's still a parking down there.
Yeah, I mean, that whole townhome side is
And that's-
parkable.
Private,
No, that's city.
that city,
That's the townhomes right across from transient parking.
gotcha.
Then when you get to the end of that little cul-de-sac, that's private marina parking. Which I think they'd go in there.
The fence is the only way to stop that.
Yeah.
People
Yeah. Yeah.
Marine.
Oh, on the marina side?
Absolutely.
Yeah, cause no, I mean,
I used to have to take the hooks off my boat engine covers down there when I had it,
yeah,
before my boat got blown. out.
yeah, I mean, who's telling people to get out of there?
I'm with Chris, it's just a safety to turn in and out.
Yeah, I think if we do 50 feet on each side of. 50 feet on each side of the driveway, then I can probably just deal with it with chief and. And not go to council with it, but if you're thinking hundreds of feet and both, then
100
it's,
feet each way,
I think that's too much.
okay.
I think 50 feet's getting your safety, and then you're not pushing people.
Just.
You're not
where-
pushing
just
people
in and out
west.
On both sides of the street or just the one?
50 feet on each side of the driveway on the one side, so just enough to where
On the
when
one
you
side.
pull out of that. Driveway, you got good visibility each way and you
Okay.
can safely pull out of the FBO parking lot.
It's at least 2 car lengths, you know.
Yeah, it's like 2 car links.
That's all we can get. That's
Yeah,
better.
but anything other than that, I think you're pushing people west, which is not the direction you want to push them.
Do we need another motion and recommendation? Does that cover I there? Then on item 6, board member comments and items for future consideration, expression of thanks and congratulations or condolences, information regarding holiday schedules, honorary recognition of city officials, employees, and other citizens. Reminders about upcoming events sponsored by the city or other entity that are scheduled to be attended by a city official or city employee.
This is where you put something for the next time to discuss.
Yeah, yep.
Okay. Discuss, recommending an ordinance to the city for crossing the active runway, like a fine,
Okay.
I like that.
as well as discuss about, vehicle traffic on the active runway.
Could we put a fishing fee on there?
We can make it broad and I can.
I don't know how that would go over with Parks and Wildlife. Yeah,
You'd have to go to South Dakota to get most of it.
yeah.
Don't call it a fishing fee, call it a parking fee.
A convenience fee.
Yeah. Convenience fee.
But, like, this is
Yeah, what is that?
Maintenance
Market adjustment.
topic that I wanted to talk about. You explained that where the the county airports have a lot more money for the airports than the city. Is there any way? I mean, I know we're in a thing, but in a money thing, and it's gonna be hard to do any maintenance on the taxiway.
Yeah.
But I just ran over this last night and see where it says poor conditions.
Yeah.
You can go through any of these other ones and it says good condition. We're like the only one that is in poor condition on ForeFlight.
Mm.
So, and it is in poor condition.
Yeah.
And so, you know, just for the future, I know we're not gonna be able to
Yeah,
do anything now, but it's just, there's a lot of rocks and
And that's about the runway mainly, or?
And the taxiway.
in the
Yeah,
taxiway,
ramp.
just, yeah, but it's just.
Yeah.
all
Yeah,
the
it's
other
just getting,
airport-
it's just getting old and we're losing we're ended up with just the rock, all the asphalts.
Right. Harvey really didn't
All the
help
oils.
it at all.
Right.
Yeah.
So I know that's not,
Yeah.
it's just something for the future that I think.
Yeah.
I found that interesting last night when I was, poor condition, and then I started looking at a bunch of other, you know, all the other surrounding airports and nobody else is in.
Bump up that overnight transient fee even more.
We brought that on ourselves, by doing chip seal.
Yeah,
It never should have been done.
no,
But I think somebody didn't understand the consequences of picking those little rocks up and
Right.
messing your
Like damaged
prop
props.
blades up.
yeah,
Which, in my
Yeah.
opinion, means the city should have a sweeper out there every, once a month or something like that to pick that stuff up.
I can't get my own street swept once. a month.
I know, but.
I've gotten them out there 3 times so far.
Yeah, Chris
It
has
just
been, Chris
started-
has been doing good.
Yeah, I've been trying.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Where's the
Yeah.
keys?
On the
Exactly.
taxiway, if like he and I talked about possibly trying to put it into a budget of
Yeah.
a scrape or. what do you call it?
Mill and overlay,
Mill
new
and
asphalt,
overlay.
basically.
Is that something that can be like 90-10 money also?
Yeah, that's something we would go to Tech Stop for
So if
a
we
capital
put-
project.
So if we put it in something in the budget, we have to go to tech start, I mean.
Yeah, so something like that, we would want to, since the budget cycle's coming up, what we would want to do is get a number from an engineer to get a cost of what it would be. And I need to call, is it Daniel Benson? I think Daniel Benson, that's our new
He's
guy.
a new guy.
Yeah, Daniel Benson. And call Daniel and see what the process would be, is it is it something we would try to tackle through a ramp grant? Or do we have to get on some crazy capital project list?
I got a
So,
question.
That's the dilemma.
I know it's a stretch, but could we use tax money for that? Because new asphalt, better runway conditions.
No.
would Give people the.
it's not heads and beds. There's now a new application process.
Heads in bed, you get more.
You can't, well, you can't
know
use
public
hot
and-
tax for
Improvements. or-
street. I know you
Okay.
can't use it for public streets.
Infrastructure.
It would be a stretch.
Yeah.
Here's why. Here's what a single tourist is worth. You know what a single tourist is worth? If he visits the airport, or if he visits the beach or Roberts Point, it's worth $1.95. That's what a person who comes for the weekend and does beach, Roberts Point, Nature Reserve, Art Center. He drops $1.95 at each one of those spots. So do the math. How many airplane landings is it gonna take to generate, $495,000?
Sure.
Probably proportional. more.
About 300,000 airplane landings. How many is that? How many years is that?
About 300,000 or
300, about 300,000 landings.
About 200.
It's a crazy number.
It's gonna be well.
That,
Okay.
and I don't even know if it's eligible. I've never seen airports eligible.
I think, it could be a stretch. The only thing I can think of in my mind that would probably be a stretch for funding is signage. We could probably look at doing all new signs, things like that. Signs count. So it's like an advertisement angle.
Well, yeah, advertising, not
Like, just-
not safety signage.
I
You
don't
could
know,
also,
maybe,
why don't you
maybe.
put some,
You could put a
embed the
visit
kitchenette in the FBO?
Right, kind of put a little spin on it.
So let me I'll do some digging on what funding source would it take for a mill and overlay?
So when
Of the
Ben
entire tax
was the
year.
contact at the state, so this precedes Daniel, if he's the new guy now.
Daniel was actually our old guy, then he left.
Then he left and he came back.
Then he's just recently come back.
Okay.
He got reassigned to a different, I think he actually retired and came back,
Okay.
but he also went to a different region. But he is now back in our
The,
loving embrace.
the path that at least Ben had suggested was possible, and this is back when we were trying to
Yeah,
put the T hanger project in with the runway extension.
Right.
Where he said, based upon the delays that we'd had on the runway side, that there was a possibility we could include the T hangers with the runway. Now we know now that they're separate.
yeah.
But that being said, if we know that any T hanger project is gonna require, additional consideration,
Yeah.
for the fact that it's woefully inadequate on the budget, at least what they
Right.
were able to give. If we're gonna be doing the Mother May Eyes, might as well, throw a taxiway resurface and runway resurface in there.
Yeah,
as
I don't
well.
know. I'll have to contact Daniel and see how they do it. Usually they have different pots of money. Like they have, like the big pot of the 5 million, that's coming out of their safety.
Mhm.
Because that whole project's a safety rehab. T hangers have their own pot.
Good.
So I don't know how they commingle it, but I'll talk to Daniel and find out
Good to
how
know.
they.
I would think that's a good, if there's a pot of money for resurfacing airports over Texas or whatever.
Yeah,
That's a good,
no, it is. It
We're
all
the only
rotates
ones
around and
that's in poor condition. That would be good.
who rated it in poor condition?
This is a four flight. And it's what 90% of the pilots use
Right,
for stuff, and they'll check gas fees
Right.
and whatnot, and these airports that I have are the surrounding, I mean,
Yeah.
if you need, it's like Rockport
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
So I learned, I
Portland
saw
and-
that it's all poor condition and I actually.
Did you
thought-
notice that too?
I did. I actually have been researching that for a couple of months to
Yeah.
maybe try to get it changed to where it doesn't say at least poor, just adequate or something. And you can't do that. So what I've been told that where that comes from on ForeFlight is where people like do reviews.
they rate it.
And they rate it, and that's how it comes up.
So let's
So
sue
this is from people that have rated it.
them. So let's
you know,
do
and they say,
ForeFlight.
oh, I loved it, or.
ForeFlight is now owned by, I believe, Boeing.
Boeing,
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then the other widely used app is
Sue 'em
owned by,
for slander.
yeah.
Yeah.
The only thing
Slandering
that
us.
change in there is like what.
Boeing's not gonna do
ForeFlight
it
is.
right now. so-
Yeah.
They're an auto.
We'll send them a cease and desist tomorrow.
There you
Our
go.
city attorney.
For slander.
Right.
Let's see how that goes.
Garmin owns the other. app
Defamation of
that's
runway.
used. I mean, I don't think
Well,
we
they
get.
say it comes from. I said, how do you change that? And he goes, that's from ratings from pilots. I said, oh.
Well, I know when I go get
The
gas.
truth of the matter is,
I'm zigzagging
it isn't
around
really a
potholes
lot.
and,
Good.
it is bad.
Yeah, my plane's at the prop shop right now, getting the prop overhaul.
How many like,
Typical prop overall, $3,500.
how many visitors are
41
we,
now.
41? Golly, it's been a couple years since I did mine.
how many visitors do we get
Mm.
annually? You know how we took action on this new fee. Do we know how many people that might equate to annually?
Well, last year we brought in,
Or- or like-
$12,000, so if you just double, it's gonna be 24, but that doesn't count the turbines and the jets, I mean.
That also
So,
doesn't
more-
take into consideration the fact that you'll probably actually have more people paying if they can pay with
Yeah.
honk
Right.
rather than sending a check.
How many like actions or those, like how many is there a way to quantify how many people that is? I'm just trying to figure out like how many users we actually have a year.
We'll put Chris out there with the clicker
Uh-huh.
and
It
he'll
may
just
be.
get after it.
Yeah. Cause
So-
maybe there's a way we could figure out some kind of small fee to where we start collecting on this for, a mill and overlay. I mean, I don't know. We need probably definitely 400,000, maybe 500,000 to get it done.
Bucket out there, donations.
But if we
Well-
could come, we could probably, if we could figure out a number of users annually, some sort of a way, whether it's renters, people that just park, whatever. We could start tacking on whatever the small fee is that we're collecting for this mill and overlay. Kind of get an estimate of, we gotta charge you the $7 or whatever it may be, and let that ride maybe a year or two, and it might get there.
We have 150 aircraft a month. That includes, aircraft that are.
Local based here.
Based here, but
Is that?
Yeah, how many of those are
each-
Chris?
Like, does that include each touch and go?
Twenty?
Or does that include a full landing
talking
to a
about?
stop? When we're counting these aircraft in the landings, are we? If it's the same airplane doing touch and goes for 2 hours, is each landing counted? Okay.
I counted, yeah,
Okay.
because that's.
Oh, those are
Carol,
just transients? That's not
what's the-
is it landings or transients?
That is both. That is the overnight, that is a plane landing. So like if the sky.
So how many of those are yours
How many of those?
in a
are-
month? Out of the 150, let's go with the big number.
150?
Yeah, 150.
He doesn't pay.
No, I know he doesn't pay. I'm just saying.
How many of those
I'm
are,
just saying, take Chris out of the number, take one guy out of the
how
number,
many of those are?
and he just
skydiving?
dropped
Skydiving is probably,
6%,
yeah,
7%.
skydiving
him.
is probably a lot. I mean, that.
Well, the
this is-
skydiving is gonna be the
In the
most.
summer,
That is,
in the
yeah.
summer, shoot, it's probably gonna be, 5, 6, 700 a month.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a lot more during the summer. This is just January and February. It's slow months.
And this January and February, at least from short-term rental standpoint, has been very slow. compared to
Yeah,
years
and
past.
mine's probably not 50.
But you gotta remember, it's even on a busy summer month. You know how many cars come up the highway in an hour?
Yeah.
1,000
Probably
plus.
track that. I've got an ADS-B receiver. I line of sight to the runway, so all the way through. I think I go through and see how many do like stops.
Might be helpful.
I print it out every night, how many planes have gone through that. I've got the whole report. Just, just every plane that comes and lands. Unless they're not tracking on ADS-B.
Yeah.
Which some people do that, but not a small percentage.
Any other items for consideration?
Can I, Dave, on just for patches, a couple of patches, can I get with? Who would I get with if I wanted to just do a few patches on the, like where?
I don't know, because they have to meet an aviation spec. I would need to ask Daniel Benson what the process is for
Just where the taxiway.
for just the taxiway. I'd have to find out.
I mean, there's just some big potholes that just to get fixed temporarily or something.
I'll find out.
The things that are on my mind before we leave, one is, well, one's always maintenance. It seems that the taxpayers of Port Aransas own the airport. And if we don't keep it up, it ends up, it's gonna cost us more. I see the green encroaching and, lifting up the taxiway. All we need is a greater blade, go down there and move it back every 2 months or something like that. And it isn't gonna be breaking up the taxiway and the runway. It's awful hard to get, not hard, but get bumpy to come in behind the hangars. That's been 2 years since there any fill in there. There's an awful lot of maintenance stuff that needs to be done to there, and it shouldn't cost that much money.
I remember you bringing that up, but we put it in the budget for, Chris, he found someone that's spraying, right?
Yes, I've got that guy,
But
Dustin,
Dustin Dustin. We hit, the airport is now sprayed every 3 months. They spray around each light. And then down the sides of a few feet down the sides.
Yeah.
For weeds and around, spray all the cracks and trying to get all the weeds out. If you notice,
that's great.
not as many weeds in the cracks growing up in the.
Another thing I have here is we talked about engineering, what the grades are and everything like that. It has to be on somebody's mind that's on staff and not the people that are on the board here. Another is money for the infrastructure. Where is that going to come from? Because when we get the access to over on the other side, we want to build T hangars. We want to build stuff. We want to have all those fishermen parking over on the other side. We have to be thinking about how are they going to get there, where they're going to park, and that it's going to cost money. So we need to think with it. Other thing is, I think we ought to have meetings a lot more often than we do now. So that's the things that I had
Yeah.
written down.
No problem, sir.
Make this area a little parking lot. They can just walk right there.
There you go. And we don't have to mow it.
This is a road, right? No.
That would make, I see what Lawrence is saying, that's a better route.
Yeah. All right, any other items for future consideration? Going once, going twice. Okay, we'll adjourn the City of Port Aransas Airport Advisory Board meeting at 4:19.